Ever wonder what winter was really like for our medieval ancestors? Forget those cozy, romanticized scenes of crackling fires and festive halls. The truth is, for most people, winter was a terrifying months-long battle for survival. It wasn't just cold. It was a relentless siege by nature itself, and making it to spring was never a guarantee. Imagine this. The days grow short. The sky turns a permanent, bleak gray, and a deep, bone-chilling cold settles over everything. This isn't the kind of cold you fix with a thermostat. This is a damp, penetrating cold that seeps through the wattle-and daub walls of your tiny, one-room hut. The floor is just packed earth, and the only heat comes from a small, smoky fire in the center of the room. There's no chimney, so the smoke stings your eyes and coats everything in a layer of greasy soot. You huddle together with your entire family and maybe even a few of your precious livestock, all sharing the same cramped, dark space just to conserve warmth. The sun, when it appears at all, is a weak, distant disk that offers no real heat. Your world shrinks to the size of your village, or even just your home. Roads become impassable mud pits, then frozen, rutted tracks of ice. Travel is not just difficult, it's deadly. Getting lost in a sudden blizzard or breaking a leg on an icy path could be a death sentence. There was number 911, no emergency services. You were on your own. Isolation was absolute. News from the outside world ceased. Your village became an island in a sea of snow and ice. And then there was the darkness. We take electric light for granted, but in the Middle Ages, the night was profound and total. The only light came from the hearth fire, or perhaps a single expensive tallow candle that smelled like rancid fat. For about 16 hours a day, people lived in near total darkness. Think about the psychological toll of that, spending the majority of your waking hours in a dim, smoky twilight, day after day, for months on end. It's no wonder that winter was associated with evil spirits, demons, and the forces of chaos. The world outside your door was a terrifying, unknown blackness. Of course, the biggest fear was starvation. Everything depended on the autumn harvest. If the harvest was good, you had a fighting chance. If it was bad, you faced the hungry gap. That dreadful period in late winter and early spring, when last year's food stores were running out and nothing new had yet grown. People would have spent autumn frantically preserving every scrap of food. Meats were salted, smoked, or packed in barrels of brine. Fish were dried until they were hard as wood. Fruits were turned into preserves, and vegetables were stored in root cellars, constantly checked for rot. But these stores were finite. By January and February, the variety was gone. The daily diet would become a monotonous gruel of oats or barley, maybe with a piece of hard, salty bacon or a tough, leathery dried fish. Fresh vegetables were a distant memory. Vitamin deficiencies were rampant. Scurvy, with its bleeding gums and aching joints, was a common winter companion. People got sick. A simple cold could quickly turn into pneumonia in the damp, crowded conditions. With weakened immune systems from a poor diet, diseases could sweep through a village with devastating speed. The elderly and the very young were especially vulnerable. Every family expected to lose someone during the winter. It was a brutal fact of life. Cemeteries filled up, the frozen ground making burials an almost impossible task. Winter was a season of grief. Work didn't stop either. While the farm fields were frozen, there were endless chores. Animals had to be fed and watered, a constant struggle when water sources froze solid. Tools needed to be mended, wool had to be spun into thread, and cloth had to be woven. Every moment was about preparing for the future, assuming you had one. The constant gnawing anxiety must have been overwhelming. Will the food last? Will the firewood hold out? Will we stay healthy? Will the wolves, driven by hunger from the forests, get bolder and attack our livestock or even us? This was the reality. Winter was the great filter of the medieval world. It tested your resources, your health, and your spirit to the absolute limit. It wasn't an adventure, it was an ordeal. The arrival of spring wasn't just a change of seasons, it was a literal rebirth. The first green shoots, the return of birdsong, the first warm breeze. These weren't just pleasantries. They were signals that you had survived. You had made it through the darkness. The feeling of relief must have been indescribable. When we complain about the winter blues or a canceled flight due to snow, it's worth remembering what our ancestors endured. They faced a level of hardship that is almost unimaginable to us today. They weren't just living through winter. They were waging a war against it. Their resilience, their ingenuity, and their sheer will to survive in the face of such overwhelming odds is a powerful testament to the strength of the human spirit. So next time you feel a winter chill, take a moment to appreciate your warm house, your full pantry, and the simple fact that for you, spring is always just around the corner. For our ancestors, that was the ultimate prize, won through a season of darkness, hunger, and fear. Thanks for watching. If you found this glimpse into the past fascinating, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories about how life was *really* lived. See you next time.